Positive and Electrolytes Foundation, in collaboration with the St. Martin Laboratory Services, St. Martin Medical Center, and Napa Auto Parts, are pleased to invite all men 40 years and older to participate in a crucial prostate cancer screening event. The event is held on Saturday, September 7th and September 14th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Napa Auto Parts locations in Phillipsburg and in Coal Bay. Participants will receive a prostate antigen specific, a PSA test. It is a blood test used to screen for prostate cancer. Men 40 years and older are strongly encouraged to take advantage of this opportunity. We ask that you bring along your ID card. For uninsured men, the foundations and the St. Martin Laboratory Services will cover the cost of the PSA test. We have a follow-up event on September 21 at 9 a.m. at the St. Martin Medical Center in Cahill, where we're inviting you once again to join us for the annual Men's Health Open House, where we will review the the PSA test results from the screenings of September 7th and 14th. The event will also feature a variety of other health screenings and informative sessions. As the Positive Foundation, we are committed to improving men's health in our community. Early detection of prostate cancer can save lives, and we are encouraging all eligible men to participate in these screenings. Of course, if you want more information, you can always reach out to the Positive Foundation at 580-9658 or the Electrolytes Foundation at 523-742-7418.
After receiving comprehensive information about this complex agreement, I formed my own opinion, which I have shared with you during my presentation. On July 8, I was informed by the central bank that they do not see a viable option to reach an alternative solution within the remaining time before Enya needs to cut payouts to its policyholders. They, the central bank, want me to ensure that the Parliament of St. Martin is fully aware of this situation. Essentially, we are in a tight spot, and their advice was that I should recommend Parliament to accept this agreement as is. My position having already been established, I could not, in good conscience, come to my esteemed members of Parliament and simply state to agree to the Hoofdlijn Accord if I was not convinced myself. Not agreeing with the terms nor having to tie solving an Enya saga, mind you, a privately owned entity, to COVID loans. I stated before, and I will remain with the stance that while I don't bite the hand that feed me or contributes to my overall financial stability, this is modern-day slavery. And it was reasons like this why it was necessary for me to investigate this matter and can now present to you an addendum to the HLA. While I am conscious of the fact that the decision lies in the hands of Parliament, you now have an addendum that is much more financially beneficial to the people of St. Martin and by extension, the St. Martin policyholders. Your positive decision towards this addendum would indicate you choosing St. Martin and its people first. I want to emphasize that I have been committed to finding a solution that is beneficial for St. Martin. As I stated previously, the policyholders were already secured through the agreement. However, St. Martin was not. With this addendum, they can rest assured that they will be taken care of by St. Martin, and St. Martin can be rest assured that they are now only paying for their policyholders and not saving Enya. Lastly, I think it is crucial that despite our political differences, we unite when faced with solutions that serve the best interests of St. Martin. Only then can we protect the interests of St. Martin's people. For anyone to suggest that I, as Minister of Finance, was trying to torpedo this agreement is, for lack of better words, utter nonsense. My goal is and will always be to provide Parliament and St. Martin with the full facts and impacts of any agreement, not half-truths. It is no wonder we are seen as inferior and not regarded as equal partners within the kingdom when we cannot even present a united front advocating for St. Martin's best interests. Question from MP Ludmila De Weaver. Getting an idea, her question was getting an idea what was needed, what is needed in year one, etc. When is what amount of money due? And this answer was provided by the central bank. On July 18th, the estimated yearly outflow to St. Martin policyholders was shared with Parliament. It is projected that the total amount of the pre-emergency regulation obligations to policyholders on St. Martin will amount to 123 million guilders in total over the next 50 years. Her second question, since 2019, no dividend was paid out because there was no money made, or was this allocated to something else? Did the government apply it to something else? Again, an answer by the central bank. No dividends was paid out in 2019 nor 2020 because there was no profit made. In each year that a profit was made, dividends was paid out in the past by the central bank. In 2022, 290,000 guilders was paid out to St. Martin. And her final question, collusion is in the past, assurance that this will not happen again. We are currently bailing out a company. Since this issue happened, was anyone paid, or were their payments on hold because of the Enya situation? Again, answer provided by the central bank. Since the emergency regulation was applied, Enya Caribbean Life has continued to meet its obligations to its policyholders. Policyholders were not allowed to transfer their capital to a new life insurance. That was the final question from MP Ludmila De Weaver. On to the questions by MP Artwell Arian. It wasn't phrased in a question, it was more in a statement. He said he expected me to provide Parliament with a better solution. And today I am glad to state that I am here to answer the questions and to present the addendum to the outline agreement, which is an improved solution for St. Martin under the circumstances. His next statement/question. Last March, we were informed by the Netherlands of the situation regarding Enya and were told that a solution needs to be found. In July, this was accomplished. However, the initial agreement upon solution was rejected by CFT. We were then sent back to the drawing board. 3 months later, in September 2023, a new solution was found. This is the best solution that could have been found with the data available at that time. If there is a better solution, the current government has had ample time to find one. Mr. Chair, through you, I would like to address the Honourable MP's remarks. The MP stated that in March 2023, the previous government was informed of an issue with Enya. By July 2023, a solution was found but subsequently rejected by CFT, necessitating another round of discussions, which resulted in a new proposal by September 2023, spanning a total of 6 months. The MP mentioned that this solution was considered best based on the data available at the time. I wonder which data exactly the former MP is referring to, as I understood that he questioned why it was important for me to find out who these policyholders were and where they worked. I would like to clarify that this is important because I want to ensure that St. Martin is not being misled, which we were. I will not simply believe what I am told by the central bank. I will ask the necessary questions to obtain accurate and truthful information and have this validated with data requested and received. As Minister of Finance, after arriving to this addendum, my reaction is, imagine with more time and additional data, what more would we have uncovered? that would better serve the interests of St. Martin and the policyholders. However, the time is up now. The MP has implied that this government had ample time to devise a solution since assuming office, if there is a better solution. To clarify, the former minister had 6 months to arrive at a solution. This government, however, was sworn in on May 3rd, and I, as the minister, came to Parliament on June 27th. During this period, my focus was on understanding the current signed binding agreement from the former Minister of Finance. However, I am glad to now have an addendum to the signed outline agreement, which was achieved in less than a month.
Are you SXM insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXM is cardless. Request your My SXM account today and enter the virtual office of SXM. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXM, yeah. Your social health insurances.
In our current education system, progressing to higher levels is challenging for some students. Most secondary students are in preparatory secondary vocational education. To address this, we can expand both secondary and high school. Most students are preparatory secondary vocational education. To address this, we can expand both secondary and higher vocational education by ensuring smooth progression pathways. Given St. Martin's small scale, higher education institutions need flexibility in how they design and organize their programs. Therefore, the government has decided not to differentiate between higher professional education and university education. Institutions can choose whether to have their bachelor's or master's programs accredited at a higher vocational or scientific level. This approach allows institutions to offer both types of education, maximizing intake from secondary and vocational education and easing the transition to higher education. 3, Anglo-Saxon and European education systems in higher education. To ensure a smooth flow in higher education, the government supports institutions that offer programs based on both the Anglo-Saxon and European systems. The Anglo-Saxon system, used in the United States and the United Kingdom, and the European systems prevalent in countries like the Netherlands, provide flexible pathways for students transitioning from secondary or vocational schools. Institutions can choose which system to use for their programs. For government-funded courses, it is essential to consider social needs and labor market demands. Instruction is generally provided in English or Dutch, but the draft national ordinance allows for other languages if they are relevant to the program. Using both the Anglo-Saxon and the European system also promotes international cooperation with institutions and countries that follow these models. 4, room for variation by maintaining the dual system. The government is committed to allowing the variety in higher education system, including the possibility of attracting or retaining private institutions. According to Article 11 of the Constitution of St. Martin, we maintain a dual system of higher education. Higher education in St. Martin comprises 3 types of institutions: private institutions, which are often profit-oriented and not funded by government; government-funded institutions, which may or may not be profit-oriented; and public institutions maintained by government through public law entities. This approach encourages economic diversification by being open to commercial institutions. If institutions do not receive government funding, they face fewer regulations. The minimum requirements for private institutions would then include the organization of and access to education, granting diplomas, ensuring accreditation, along with the registration and information obligations. Government-funded institutions, on the other hand, must meet stricter requirements, especially regarding admission and education quality. If no institutions are funded and there is a significant social need for higher education, the government can step in to provide public higher education. However, given the capacity of the existing institution, this scenario is unlikely but ensures that government can still provide higher education in extreme cases. Five, only accredited programs will be recognized. It is crucial that the national ordinance clarifies the meaning of higher education diplomas for all stakeholders: students, employers, and education institutions. The higher education diploma's social value should extend to local, regional, and international labor markets, as well as provide opportunities for further education. For instance, a recognized master's degree in law should grant access to the legal profession, highlighting the significance of government-recognized programs. Under the national ordinance, only institutions with recognized study programs will be authorized to confer diplomas, titles, and degrees. This requirement will apply universally, including both government-funded and private institutions. Institutions will need to seek program recognition, which will involve accreditation by the designated body. Accreditation will serve as a vital assurance for quality education. Recognized programs will be listed in a centralized higher education register, facilitating verification during application processes. This register will also detail diplomas and degrees an institution is authorized to grant, ensuring transparency and authenticity in qualifications that are awarded. Ensuring institutions do not grant diplomas without recognized accreditation is crucial to safeguard against sustained substandard education offering at a high cost. Any institution in St. Martin issuing diplomas, titles, or degrees without proper recognition and accreditation will be in violation of the law and will be subject to fines, underscoring the importance of regulatory adherence and quality assurance in higher education. 6. Internationalization partnership with minimum requirements. The government supports international cooperations, especially considering St. Martin's scale. The draft national ordinance enables such collaborations, allowing for joint programs where students can earn degrees from both a foreign institution and a St. Martin institution. In cases of joint study programs or specializations, legal protections are essential for students. The draft ordinance includes safeguards to ensure these cooperative agreements protect students' rights while participating in joint programs with foreign institutions. The St. Martin institution will remain accountable for ensuring compliance with the draft national ordinance. This includes entering into detailed cooperation agreements with foreign partners, specifying educational content, degree conferral methods, student registration processes, program cost, and tuition fee responsibilities. Throughout joint programs, students' rights and obligations will be upheld, ensuring transparency and accountability in their educational journey. 7. Flexibility in funding. Room for other financial partners. The draft national ordinance introduces funding guidelines aimed at sharing the cost burden of higher education between the government and institutions. Higher education is seen as a public asset, necessitating government financial support to guarantee accessibility and quality, while striving to provide equitable opportunities for more St. Martin students and mitigate brain drain. The government recognizes its financial limitations, both presently and in the future. To ensure sustainability, the draft ordinance grants higher education providers flexibility in financing beyond government subsidies, contingent upon sound financial management. Institutions are empowered to invest, secure loans, and engage in commercial activities under the oversight of their boards. This includes offering specific products or services commercially, leveraging their organizational structure for economic purposes. Additionally, performance contracts can be established with government-funded institutions, linking funding to outcomes such as student success, rates, and institutional efficiency. This innovative approach allows for diversified investment in higher education, adapting to future needs. Moreover, the draft ordinance supports triangular cooperation between institutions, the business sector, and the government.
Are you SXM insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXM is cardless. Request your My SXM account today and enter the virtual office of SXM. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXM, yeah. Insurances.
Are as follows. Have the questions and or concerns which were brought forward by the University of St. Martin been taken into consideration and or addressed in this presentation, and if not, in the draft legislation that is before us today? A second question would be then, has a note of unwijziging, so this is something coming from government, been presented along with this draft or will be presented during the course of the handling of this legislation as a result of the concerns and or questions brought forth by the university? Or will such a draft amendment be necessary, whether coming from the government or from Parliament side? The third question I have is, how does, if no amendments are necessary, how does the ministry aim to address the concerns and or questions that have been brought forward by the University of St. Martin? And lastly, Madam Chair, what are the risks associated in not having a higher education legislation in place as soon as possible? I know it has been something that has been keenly requested, especially through USM over the years, and many, including those in the room, have done a lot of diligent work to get it where it is. Of course, we want the best legislation moving forward, and any further delays, what impact will that have on higher education on St. Martin on the whole? Madam Chair, I mentioned that was my last question, but though this question is not related to tertiary education, the preparation for students to get to that point, I believe, is one that our education department, with all its stakeholders, need to address as soon as possible. And so I look forward to us dialoguing. It's not so much a question, but I am challenging the education department. I've recently been in presentations at USM by scholars who are working towards their doctorate, who have done it based on our education system. And I'm talking mainly about secondary education. And I feel that it has to be fit for purpose. We cannot continue to, I heard the minister mention that a majority of our students are not even in the academic levels that would be precursors for university level. And so for me, it is a goal that on St. Martin, we offer those students also the opportunity. We have compulsory education until 18, and therefore we must address the secondary system to ensure that more of our students have the opportunity to go on to tertiary education, should that be their dream.
Education is the most powerful tool that we can use to change the world. Nelson Mandela. I firmly believe in this, Madam Chair, and I want to touch on the fact that this presentation was very important. I would also like to thank the staff of the ministry through the years that brought us to this point, because I know that there's been a lot of discussion over some years. We are finally here, and we can finally see the forward movement of this legislation. I know that nothing can be done perfect, because nothing is waterdicht. St. Martin and the world is developing, so therefore, where we see we need to amend and improve, we need to do that. Through you, Madam Chair, the following. With respect to the alignment of the economic growth, you mentioned, Minister, talking about aligning higher education with the needs of the labor market and economic growth. So my question will be, how will the ministry ensure that the educational programs keep up with the changing needs of the job market, and will be ensure that ongoing consultation remains between, of course, the Ministry of Education and the labor market, so to speak? My second question, through you, Madam Chair, with respect to attracting international students. I know that it was mentioned in terms of financial sustainability. That was a great idea. But we face tough competition from larger countries with well-established universities. So my question is the following. What concrete steps have we taken or will we take to ensure that our institutions are attractive in order to pull in that foreign students, so to speak, in order to come to our establishments? My next point, with respect to quality assurance in education, it's vital, I understand, and the ordinance mentioned that specialized agencies will handle this. However, how will these agencies function is not entirely clear. So my question is, through you, Madam Chair, can you explain how these agencies will be chosen and what specified standards will they use in order to upkeep and meet the international benchmarks? My next question, with respect to accreditation, it is important indeed to make sure that our degrees hold value. But for some smaller, newer institutions, meeting these accreditation requirements can be tough. So what specific support will the ministry offer to these institutions to help them meet the minimum requirements in terms of the accreditation for the degrees?
In preparing for this public meeting, Minister, and noting what the Chair Lady mentioned in her own opening remarks regarding the report that Parliament sent of the meeting with USM to government, I just have a few questions to start this round, and I'll await the responses as we move to the second. Through you, Madam Chair Lady, the Minister mentioned, as was stated, that USM's concerns and considerations were taken up where necessary in the law. And MP Jacobs also asked, was this actually done? I would go a bit further, if possible, that the ministry could provide specific instances where USM suggestions were actually incorporated into the law, because there were several concrete issues raised that would impact USM's ability to remain sustainable and innovative, even with the added benefit of this ordinance. So I'm sure the concern is that the more critical of these issues are taken up just for the public's edification. And did the ministry examine and assess other versions of this national ordinance in other countries within the kingdom to see how that's handled from, for example, University of Curacao and Aruba, just to see how that is managed, especially since we have the unique appearance then of this being a private / also state kind of funded entity. Having gone to school in the US, there's very large differences between what a private university is able to do and a state-backed university is able to do. And finally, for now, did the ministry receive notice from USM on the setup of the St. Martin Science Research Institute, the SSRI, and has that consideration been taken up in the preparation of this draft national ordinance and also in consideration to funding? Because that is really where I think the rise and fall and the continuance of USM is going to rest on what money is available. And I've heard a lot about attracting foreign students, etc. That also comes with its own challenges from a justice perspective in terms of visas and such, as I've mentioned in the Central Committee, and also from a housing perspective, because foreign students will need places to live. And I think before we start to focus on that, it needs to be on how can we keep it sustainable financially here for the local market.